Alrighty, guys, let's jump in. Facebook's obviously not going to work for me, but yeah, cool. So tonight's an interesting one. First of all, thank you to everybody who come along to watch this live on Zoom. It was going to be streamed on Facebook, but it's having a few technical dramas there. I'll keep trying to get it up there, but can't guarantee anything. Anyway, cool. If you're watching this on a recording, thank you so much for taking your time to hopefully learn a few things. Look, tonight is mostly an information session. I'll do a bit of a disclaimer first of all. I in no way condone a lot of the processes that we're going to be talking about tonight. It is about how we can lose weight and lose body fat without diet and exercise, and it is completely possible. However, we need to look at the big picture here in health. Look, like nothing. What we're going to be talking about are various drugs and surgeries and just different things, different cheats, I guess you could say. I don't want to say cheats. Different approaches that you could take with weight loss and body fat loss, just to make the process a lot easier. And look, some of these things do have their place, but at the end of the day, nothing is going to beat good diet and good exercise. So what we've done here, I've picked out a handful. I think I've got about five or six different approaches that people take and have taken and still do take today. So I've done a little bit of research on these and come up with the pros and cons, definitely what these things are, some of the side effects, if any side effects, and obviously a natural alternative to the product here. So look, if anybody doesn't know who I am, if you're watching this on a recording, my name is Jason. I am the director at ProFit International Health and Fitness. I've been in the industry, well, we registered ProFit in 2004. So what's that? We're 2019 now, 15 years. So, oh, hang on. I might even have Facebook here. Live on Facebook. Cool. There's always technical dramas. Let's have a go here. We'll have another crack at it. So, I mean, I've been around a fair while with obviously different drugs, different surgeries, different supplements. There's been some interesting ones, and there's been some downright outlandish ones as well. But for everybody who's had anything to do with the fitness industry at all, you would have heard the term the silver bullet. So the silver bullet is the be all and end all to lose body fat, to lose body fat, more to the point, of any sort, or in any way necessary, right? And it's been thrown around willy-nilly, and people say that it doesn't exist. Well, I'm here to say that it does exist, and that's our very first one that we're going to touch on here. A little product called DNP, dinitrophenol. This is the magic bullet. If you want to drop body fat really quickly, this is the stuff you need to be on. Does have its side effects, and I'll get to them later. But it is targeted fat loss, so it is prioritizing fat as an energy source. It is hyperthermic, which means it superheats the body to burn more calories. We've all heard of the average, the run-of-the-mill supplements that you buy off the shelves at supplement stores, at Woolies, at Coles. I think Aldi even sell a thermo now. We've all heard of the thermogenics that actually increase our core body temperature, causes us to sweat and burn more calories that way. Well, this stuff is like a general thermogenic on steroids. First marketed as a fat burner in the 1920s, as it was. Been around, well, It's been, I'm going to say it's been around a little while now. But I mean, you look at your moderate dosage of this at 100 milligrams, it's going to increase your BMR, so your basal metabolic rate. For those of you who don't know what your BMR is, it is basically what, if you were to get up, sit on the lounge, just watch TV all day, do absolutely nothing, that's how many calories you would burn without exercise, without activity. That number will increase if you get up, you go to the bathroom, you go to the fridge, you're doing all this activity. So your basal metabolic rate is basically the base number of calories you're going to burn. So with a moderate dose of this, you're going to increase your BMR by about 11%. So look, let's use round figures, 10%. Your average, let's say your daily intake is 2,000 calories. Your BMR. You increase that by 10%. You throw an extra 200 calories on top of that, and it may not necessarily sound like much. You're going to be burning an extra 200 calories throughout the day, but I mean, you work out the sums, and I'm not going to do this because I'm a trainer and I can't count, but you work out 9 calories per gram of body fat. Okay, over the course of the day, you've got 200 calories burnt. You can just obviously do the math yourself. The best thing about this, I say the best thing, it needs to be used multiple times a day, and that will multiply the outcome, the increase of percentage. So you're essentially going to be 11% by 11% by 11% by 11%, and it's going to be non-stop. So it's basically the equivalent of exercising 24 hours a day. It will work through the night. This stuff is the silver bullet. Okay, and it sounds too good to be true, right? Well, this is where it gets interesting, because we're going to start looking at the side effects here. This is actually illegal. And I know I said it was marketed as a fat burner in the 20s. It was actually banned in 1938. Some of the side effects here, obviously illegal: nausea, vomiting, irregular heart rate, the aneurysms. So you're basically superheating your body, and it cooks you from the inside out. It was basically this one originally marketed as a pesticide. So basically what the farmers would do, they'd spray this on their crops and obviously on all the bugs, and it would cook the bugs from the inside out. And that's how it was cooked. And that's basically what you're doing here as a human. We're just in bigger dosages, right? It is no longer fit for human consumption. It's like I said there, it's banned in 38. It actually made a comeback in the 80s as MyCal. Unable to stream on Facebook, obviously. So it is no longer available. The doctor who actually brought it back into the industry in the 80s, he actually served a fair bit of time because he had some incredible results with the body fat loss. But he also had a high risk of fatalities as well. And that is extreme weight loss there. That's permanent weight loss. So DNP, dinitrophenol, it is the silver bullet. It works a treat, but there is a high likelihood of fatality, and it is extremely illegal. Obviously, some of the side effects you can see on your screen there. I should point out, actually, no, I'm not going to point out some of the natural alternatives. So obviously, exercise. The ketogenic diets, that's why I'm big on this. Obviously, it's not going to take it to the same extreme as DNP would, but a ketogenic diet, so your high fat, high protein diets, they play with the uncoupling proteins. There's, where are they? 1 in the brain, 2 in the muscles, 2 in somewhere else. And I know I only held up 4 fingers, but there's 5 uncoupling proteins. And if we can alternate them, that's going to increase our core body temperature naturally. So that's where your ketogenic diets come from. Similar effect with your DNP, but obviously not to that extreme. CLA, that's just a run-of-the-mill supplement you can buy off the shelves. Conjugated linoleic acid, spit it out. Cool. Yeah, like I said, it's just one of the. It's not one of the big extremes, but you're going to get some results from something like that. And again, it's not going to beat diet and exercise. That's your DNP. I wanted to start with that one because that is the big one. I'm going to do my best to try and sneak this in. We are going to be tight on time. Next one, clenbuterol. I'm sure anybody who's had anything to do with the bodybuilding scene would know what clenbuterol is. It's a bronchodilator, similar to an asthma puffer in that it opens up the bronchial tubes. So bronchial, the tubes down the respiratory system, dilator opens them up so you can get more oxygen in. Definitely used in the racing industry, horse racing. I don't know if it's legal with horse racing. I want to say no. I'm not too sure with that one. It is likened to caffeine in that it's a stimulant and it inhibits the breakdown of muscle tissue. So, there's a lot of products out there that claim that it reduces the breakdown of muscle. So generally speaking, you're going to have a minimum muscle burn of about 5%. So if you're going to burn 100 calories, generally you're going to have a minimum 5% of that will be from muscle, which is why whenever we do our bioscans for our 8-week challenges, that generally speaking, you will drop body fat at about that 4 to 5% mark. The clenbuterol, it inhibits it. It blocks the use of muscle as an energy source, and it will prioritize the body fat. Increase your BMR by about 10%, so not quite as big as your DNP, but definitely a really good response there. Some of the side effects on these, again, it's illegal, but I mean, like so is heroin. And if someone wants to do heroin, they'll find heroin. As with the DNP, as with the Clen, like I said, these things are just more of an info, and I want you to be aware of the risks that you take with. I know these are the extremes, but we are going to get to some of the legal options, I guess that is the word. So it is potentially fatal. We've all heard the term roid rage. This is one of the big contributors to roid rage. So people are very, very angry when they're on Clen. It impacts your taurine levels. So taurine, we've all heard taurine generally used with, I don't want to say brand names, but energy drinks. So the companies that create those energy drinks have to put taurine in because taurine is the most abundant amino acid in the heart, right? So the taurine itself helps to inhibit heart palpitations. Clen impacts your taurine levels, so there's a higher risk of basically a heart attack. Throw in the fact that it's very similar to adrenaline, so that you just can't sleep. You're up all the time. Obviously, the nausea, vomiting, chest pain, the list goes on, similar to your DNP, in that it's just not a nice place to be. Alrighty, well, how can you get the same impact or similar impact from Clen naturally? Swimming is a great one because Clen, like I said, is the bronchial dilator here, and swimming has just been. If you want to increase your lung capacity, swimming is the way to go. Your peppermint of all things is brilliant for fat loss. That's why a lot of the supplements generally have a mint flavor as an option, at least. And peppermint is just a natural fat burner, and there's tons out there. Capsaicin is another one. What else have we got? Generally, the peppers and the spices are more a fat burner than anything else. CLA, again, as with your DNP. Moving on, I'm going to try and do my best to get all this in the half hour, so we're going to fly through it. If you've got any questions at all, please feel free to throw them up in the chat or shoot me a message privately. We'll see if we can cover everything. The next one along, Duramine. This is a prescription drug. It is completely legal. It is ridiculously popular. The most popular fat drug or fat burning drug in Australia. Over 1 million prescriptions last year. So that's insane numbers. So basically, what it does, it suppresses your appetite. Most drugs will either suppress your appetite or increase your fat burn. This one does both. It's basically legal speed. If anybody, and like I've trained a few people on Duromine before, they've gone and told me that it is legal speed, and you feel great while you're on it. So a lot of the time, the pros, the pro bodybuilders, the pro bikini competitors, all of those type of people, that sort of crowd. I'm not saying they all do it, but it is quite popular that they would get their fat friends to go to the doctor and get the prescription for Duromine, just so they and give it to them and use it off script. So that's basically how they can cut that those extra few kilos before they get up on stage and compete. I had another point I wanted to make about Duromine, but I can't remember what it was. Anyway, moving on. Side effects. Look, it works on the adrenal receptors, so you are fired up all the time. The trouble we have with Duromine is that it has an extremely long half-life, so it stays in the system a very, very long time. They've actually quoted it as about 25 hours. So you only need one dose a day. However, eventually you will double up on that one, right? So you're always on, so to speak, and studies have shown that nearly everybody on this has developed some sort of insomnia because they just can't get to sleep. They're always wired. So eventually you will, like I said, 24 hours in a day. There's it stays in the system for approximately 25 hours. So if you're taking it at 6 o'clock every morning, that's going to add up. Okay, follow me for this one. And of course, the body will build tolerance to it as well. So eventually, to get the same response, you need to increase the dosage levels. The next one, grows the prostate. So it can cause virilization in females. It basically it will play havoc on the sex parts. I'm just going to leave it at that. Use your imagination for that. Increase the chance of stroke. So basically the intracellular hemorrhages. So that basically means your arteries and your veins, they basically blow out. Impotence is another side effect on this one, as is high blood pressure. Hence the high blood pressure relating back to the stroke as well. They all work hand in hand. How do you do it naturally? What have I done there? Wrong way. There you go. So your ECA stack, I spoke about this the other day through some of my PTs, your ephedrine, your caffeine, and your aspirin. It is a really cool little stack, this one. Apart from the ephedrine being banned, the caffeine and your aspirin are quite common. So your aspirin will actually prolong the lifespan of the caffeine. So, I mean, how hard is it to go out to the chemist or to the grocery shop, get a couple of NoDos, a couple of aspirin, throw them down, and away you go. You're feeling invincible. You're going to lift heavier. It reduces your pain, increases your pain tolerances, I should say. It's not something I would recommend, but it's like I said, do your research if you want to go down this track. It's just going to be an information session. I'm not condoning anybody go out and do any of these. Nothing is going to beat diet and exercise. I know I'm going to keep saying that throughout the night. Add your taurine. Like I said earlier, taurine will help reduce heart palpitations. So obviously with Duromine being so focused around the heart and the respiratory system here, you still need that taurine in the heart to help reduce that. Next one we're going to look at, this is a good one, Xenical. This will attract fat molecules. This is cool. Xenical is, I believe it's a prescription drug. So I think it's legal. Don't quote me on that. It's basically giving you free reign to eat what you want, because when you're on this, all the fat molecules in the body get sucked up and passed. Okay, basically a golden ticket to do whatever you want. Some of the side effects, though, it does with attracting the fat molecules, it will also attract the vitamins. So you're not actually absorbing a lot of the nutrients that you would generally get. Look, there's a couple on this. This is an interesting side effect. Weakness. So you're generally going to feel weak, feel slow when you're on Xenical. This is my favorite one, anal seepage. So basically, you're going to leak when you're on Xenical. There's a reason they put them next to the adult diapers. Gas with discharge. So basically, you're going to shart, I think the technical term is. And with the inability to control bowel movements. So not only are you going to crap your pants, you're not going to know what's coming. So yeah, Xenical's a really interesting one, as well as the number of bowel movements as well. So this is I really don't understand why people would be on Xenical, to be quite honest. Diarrhea. So it's coming out both ends. Stomach and rectal pain. So you're going to be in a lot of discomfort around the midsection. And yeah, for some strange reason, problems with the teeth and the gums. The theory is, and I don't necessarily know why this is related in here, but the assumption is there's not enough fat in an essential fat in the diet, because obviously it's a fat molecule attractor. It's going to attract fat cells. So that, I believe, is related to the problems with the teeth and gums. Everything else is just straight up disgusting. Like I said, I don't know why anybody would take Xenical. But hey, they do. People do their research and people jump on it. So hey, you're going to do what you want to do. What have we got? Alternatives. Cytosine. Cytosine is a cool little alternative for it. I don't know a whole lot about it, to be quite honest. But it does treat certain types of cancer, so it can be quite intense. That's pretty much all I've got for that one. I mean, who in their right mind would want to go through all of that just to burn a bit of body fat? Get to the gym and squat and go to a boot camp or something. There's the fun one, liposuction. This is a cool little history between liposuction. 1921, first liposuction on a dancer. Basically, the doctor performed it, had amazing success because guess what? It works. If you want to lose body fat, you pull it out. It was here. It's now here. Okay. You go through your surgery. You wake up with the baggie of fat at the end of the bed, no longer on your body at all. Okay. 1921, first liposuction. The story of the first surgery was absolutely the medical technology they had back in the day is you'll squirm when you hear it. Basically, what it is, like liposuction today, is small incision, stick the tube in, and like they have at it, right? It's more vigorous than you're vacuuming at home. But the first liposuction, it was basically a spoon with a hole in the back of it. So the doctor would scoop out the fat and it gets sucked up the tube, right? It was a big incision on this dancer's legs. However, got infected, it removed all the fat. So it got infected, ended up having to amputate both legs. That's in summary, okay? The actual story itself, like the long story, is, if you ever get the chance to check it out, do so. It's extremely interesting. I love that one. Well, I mean, within reason, of course. Cool. And 76 is the next actual liposuction. The trouble with lipo is that it can't remove visceral fat. So the visceral fat's the stuff around the internal organs. It can't actually get through the abdominal wall and scrape away the visceral fat. What happens when you exercise? The first place you're going to burn body fat is the visceral fat. Okay, so yeah, it's yeah. Side effects, obviously, it's a short-term fix. Generally, they say about 3 months before the fat starts to regain, and not necessarily in the same spots. So if you have your lipo off your thighs, for example, it may come back in other places, like generally, across the back of the shoulders, for example. Um, it can be quite uneven if you get a doc. Like Western medicine is quite advanced. I will admit there are some brilliant doctors out there. I'm not having a go at all docs, but there's some pretty average ones as well. And if you get it wrong, that you can have a lot of unevenness in the body because, hey, you don't get it all, you don't even it up. There's a lot of abnormalities there. Elephantitis. This is a cool little point. We all know elephantitis. We've seen the Elephant Man many times through social media. It can cause elephantitis in the genitals. I'm not sure why it chose that area, but abdominal liposuction, elephantitis in the genitals. There you go. And of course, extreme swelling afterwards. It's invasive surgery. Like it's vigorous. So the swelling afterwards can be horrendous. Cool. No improvement to the cardiovascular risk factors. So, if they say, oh, you've got to lose some body fat to reduce your risk of heart attack, it doesn't work that way. You can't just go in, suck the body fat out, and expect to have a healthy heart. So it comes back to the visceral fat. Where is it? On the last page. Visceral fat there. You need to strengthen the heart, the lungs, to do that naturally. Obviously, you've got your exercise. That is going to reduce the risk of heart conditions down the track. How to do it naturally? Obviously, look, vitamins have their place. I'm not the biggest fan of multivitamins. They're a synthetic compound. Well, most of them are a synthetic compound. But obviously, short term, everything short term has a place, in my opinion. Long term, obviously, you want to try and get them all from fruits and vegetables and your day-to-day nutrition. That's the word. And obviously, exercise. Like I said before, it attacks the visceral fat first. Nice and easy. Look, the trouble with liposuction is they won't touch you until your BMI gets to a certain level. Your basal metabolic rate gets to a certain level. I think it's 30, 32, 35. Before, we all know BMIs don't work, right? It's a calculation, not a measurement. They don't work at the two extremes of the spectrum. So for your BMI, I think it's a 32, morbidly obese. So if someone's a 30, goes to the doctor and says, hey, look, I want liposuction, but I'm only a 31, what are they going to do? They're going to go and eat. So they're not actually treating the habits, right? Is it lipo? No, it's gastric sleeve, isn't it? Sorry, I'm talking about the wrong one. Gastric sleeve is your BMI. Needs to hit a certain level. Let's get into that one. You know a bit about that already. So basically, you're limiting the size of the stomach. So that's either gastric sleeve over the top, or you bypass completely. Same, but different. Very similar side effects and conditions there. Basically, it physically reduces your ability to eat. So basically, if that's the stomach, they put a mesh band around it, and it shrinks the stomach so that it can no longer expand when you eat. So you eat a lot less. It can. I'm not sure if they've actually come up with a way to actually undo it, because at the moment it is permanent, and you will lose a lot of weight. You're obviously not going to get the nutrients back into the body that you once were. And so people lose a lot of weight while they're on it. And yeah, like I said, there you go, 32. I did do the research on it. So people, they're teaching themselves bad habits to gain the weight in order to reach that BMI of 32, which will bring their weight down. And look, if you've had the gastric sleeve done, you've sort of got to go to the extreme on the other end of the diet. You need to be dead on with your nutrition. You need to be eating the right fruits, the right vegetables, the right proteins. because you've only, instead of having a stomach this big, you've only got a stomach this big, well, this big. So you need to get all your nutrients in such a small stomach, so they have to be nutrient dense. The trouble is, hey, if you're going to go and, fill a stomach this big, you could fill it with a hamburger. So it's mental. And I believe, to my knowledge, they actually have, like, the people who want to do this, they actually have to go through therapy prior to having the surgery, just so they know what they're in for. Generally, people are protein deficient on this because they obviously can't eat a whole lot of meat. I actually don't think they can eat red meat at all. I don't know if it's at all or if it's much red meat. So people are generally protein deficient, as well as B12. So you can't really have one without the other. B12 is in a lot of red meats as well. And so the iron in the red meat will help absorb the B vitamins. So you sort of go down that spiral there of saying, okay, I miss out on, let's say, iron in your red meat. I can no longer absorb B12, which will no longer allow me to absorb this, which will no longer, and it just goes on and on and on. So generally people will have to have B12 injections. And basically it's in a needle, stick it in, and away you go. You got to go to the GP for those ones, of course. Look, the big, it's not a reflection of true health. Is actually, I might touch on that one first. Not a reflection of true health. Just because you're skinny does not mean you're healthy. I want to make that perfectly clear. What about the strength of the heart? What about the strength of the respiratory system? So you want to have a look at all areas, which is what we cover. We look at the strength, the cardio, the flexibility, the mobility. Just they're the big four in terms of fitness. Don't get me started on nutrition, because there is so many other avenues that you can look at. Sarcopenia is a big one for people with gastric sleeve. Sarcopenia, I think it's this year that it actually got considered a disease. So it is the loss of muscle. You'll probably see this with a lot of paraplegics, wheelchair paraplegics, the loss of the no use of their legs. Obviously, they just can't walk, so they can't build the muscle in that area. So that's sarcopenia. For people that aren't eating the right foods, and this is why it is so important to be able to hit your calorie goals and hit your macro goals and hit your micronutrient goals, to fuel the muscles and create an environment where the muscles will grow. And the more muscle you have, the quicker you can burn your body fat anyway, right? That's like the gastric sleeve. Look, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. Let's just leave it at that. Look, there it is. The alternatives, diet and exercise. Nothing beats it. Look, it has its place. Do your research. If you do decide to go down one of these paths, do your research. I am going to wrap this up shortly. But look, I can't stop you from having surgery or from, getting your hands on DMP or clenbuterol. Look, there's tons of drugs out there that people will have access to. I'm not condoning any of them. But, just do your research, and I just want you to be safe and just arm yourself with the knowledge to understand what you're getting into before you go and do it. Cool, guys. Were there any questions before we wrap this up for the night? I know we've gone a little bit over. There was a lot of stuff there. Cool. Cool, no questions, excellent. So look, before we do have our little 30-day shred coming up in, I think we're about 2 weeks away, October 14. If you're watching this on a recording, October 14, 2019 is our start date. If you've missed the start, let me know. I can point you in the right direction for hopefully our next one, our second one. But cool, guys, any dramas, sing out. I'm here for you. Obviously, if you want to speed things up a little bit, we've got our 5-day experiences for our ketones as well. Shoot me a message for those. What have I got? Ketones. We've got a 30-day shred. We've got an 8-week challenge happening at the moment. Tons of stuff. I'm not even going to mention it all. Cool, guys. That is us for the night. Let's wrap this up and yeah, get some sleep. Thanks for coming out, guys, and I'll chat to you again very shortly.